Welcome to the Project Mom Podcast. I'm your host, Emily Gorey, mom of a sweet baby girl and an ever-evolving entrepreneur. On this show, we will explore the intersection of motherhood and entrepreneurship. We will share stories of moms just like you and me with the goal of fostering community and comfort in knowing that we are not alone in our experiences. Please take a moment to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to ensure you get all the updated episodes and releases. Welcome to today's episode of the Project Mom Podcast. I am so excited because we are talking with Corina Tripon today. And Corina is a growth coach and master encourager. She is the owner of a premier female entrepreneur coaching brand called Ginger Root and founder of Ginger Root Society, a membership community for female entrepreneurs who are looking to build their business in alignment with their faith. On the home side, Corina is a mom to two sweet and charming boys, Cruz and Cash, and partner to her husband, Brandon. So Corina, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure. It's an honor. I'm super excited for our conversation today. So,
yay, me too. Yeah, and I am very excited because your initial reaction was so vulnerable and willing to kind of be part of this experience and share your thoughts on motherhood and balancing a business, especially one that from our, albeit limited interactions, one that you believe in so fiercely as you do as Ginger Root Society. And you have a whole lot going behind that. And it's been truly an honor to watch that growth with you in terms of the limited interactions that we've had. So before we jump in, I want to give you a chance to share a bit more about your business, how you support your clients one-on-one, and then where the membership community fits into all of that.
Yeah, I'd love that. Thank you for the opportunity to share about what I do and how I impact like the world around me. I think it's a privilege to share that with your platform. I think from the very beginning, my entire drive to start a business and to really even align with the purpose on my life came out of being a new mom. It was really having my first son that it just made my life's purpose more
intense, perhaps?
Yeah, it just became more serious because all of a sudden I saw the generation that would come after me. So the way that I lived on this earth, all of a sudden had an even bigger consequence and implication. That's why I feel like motherhood has been this like interwoven aspect that has propelled my business. It's held my business. Like it's definitely been like along for the ride. There's no way that you can really separate yourself when you're a mom from the way that you pursue success. So for me, one-on-one coaching really it's like coming alongside a woman and being together. It's like we tear down limitations, we tear down the inability to make decisions. We walk hand in hand during a time in her life where she's about to be on the other side. Like they're on the precipice. She finds herself on the precipice of change. And a lot of times we can choose to stay away from that growth and stay away from even that promotion, from that like elevating your business. We can delay walking over into that. And so I found that it was like in that tender moment, in those tender couple of weeks, months, where women needed to have this infusion of belief and to have someone that they can be completely vulnerable with, that they can share the decision-making process and really step out of old insecurities that had gotten them up until that point. Because, when you pursue success, there's always going to be an up-leveling. You have to ditch the old mindsets. You never get to a point where it's like, okay, I've made it. Like, I'm completely confident. I believe in myself 100%. Like, no, but you're just challenged. So supporting one-on-one clients for me, we meet weekly for 3 months. And it's very much like we talk about every single aspect of her life. We dig into every insecurity and nothing is off limits. And it's interwoven with business. And I believe fiercely that God calls us to do really incredible things because he wants us to evolve and grow and be these dynamic individuals that he created for us to be. So the community then comes in, and it's not something that you have to like do one-on-one coaching with me and then get into the community. It's something that can happen at the same time, before and after. When I first started coaching women, it was one-on-one, and I found that they were all so similar and would benefit. I coach women from all around the United States. It wasn't just locally, it was always virtual too. But I just found that they shared so many of the pain points and such amazing experiences that would benefit them from sharing it. So I wanted to build a platform where I could elevate and put my clients on the platform and say, hey, share how you did that thing. I always just felt like it was so important to not, like, although I'm the coach that comes alongside an amazing woman, there's never this hierarchy. Like, we really do learn from each other. And so, and truly to empower a woman, I felt like I had to share the influence that I had, so that she can also pour into, like, using her own level of expertise, using her experience, pour into other women too. Because learning from one another, that's, I feel, most impactful. We connect to different parts of our stories. We connect to different experiences. And so I knew that there was a real power in just bringing women together, especially the kind of clients that I attract. They're typically women that want to really have strong family lives. They value their faith, and they run a business on integrity. They don't want to compromise themselves for the sake of a buck. They want to build wealth, but they don't want to do so in a way that jeopardizes their internal sense of value, morals, and faith, to be honest. And so I kept on having these private clients and thought like I would connect them like on the outside, but then I really felt like I want to know, like, I want us to all come together so that I can learn from you, so that I can also maintain and continue to cultivate the relationships, because I recognize that I was someone that would organically like pull people together. So I had to recognize what I was gifted in and then put that to use. And Ginger Society has been this community. It was started 3 years ago. I was about 2.5 years into my coaching business. We had just moved to San Diego from Spokane, Washington. So I felt personally the desire for community. Like, I hungered for it.
Yes.
And because I came here without really knowing anyone. So I felt like, okay, I have this need for community. I know that there's other women that do as well. And I'm going to create it. And I'm going to work hard to make sure that it's a place where everyone feels like they have something to contribute. They have experiences, they have giftings, they have wisdom, but they also can gain. So it's like you're fed at the same time as you show up, and you also create some sort of impact into someone else's life.
Yes. I love that. Like, there's so many things I want to touch on just from that piece that you've shared with us. I want to start a little bit with the kind of alignment that I feel as you're talking. Like, there's a lot of what you're saying that resonates with the goals that I have of starting Project Mom, in terms of creating this community and sharing our experiences with others, and the true impact of that, of knowing that perhaps we've mistrusted ourselves in the past, or don't perhaps have the confidence or belief in ourselves that we can be these great moms, or these experiences that we're having are perhaps normal for other women like ourselves. And I think the ability to share those stories is going to create the most impact for women, just honestly like myself, in terms of this experience that I've had over the last year. My daughter's just turned 15 months, and it's been a wild 15 months. So hearing these stories and learning from other women that their experiences are very similar to my own, in terms of the feelings that I'm feeling, the emotions, the expectations that are put upon me, and things like that are very common, and you are not alone. So I feel very deeply the inspiration that you had kind of running parallel to where I'm sitting with this project.
I think one of the most truly, truly powerful impacts is it normalizes things that we think are unique to us, like the struggles of motherhood. It all of a sudden normalizes it. So then they're not these giant disqualifiers that we hold, because no one else knows that. So I had my second son 3.5 years ago, almost 4 years ago. And I remember I took time off. I put my clients on hold, but then I had to, like, as anyone else, after 6 weeks, got back into it. I worked from my home office. My son was home with me, and I would schedule my sessions around nap times. But I'll be honest, a lot of times my baby wouldn't be sleeping at the exact, like it was never perfectly fit. And there were times when I was literally like milking through my shirt, hearing my baby cry, but wanting to honor this session and still like show up for my business, show up because I have these gifts that I want to utilize. But at the same time, you have this pull to motherhood. I felt like, oh, I must not be good. I'm like not doing a good job. I'm not professional. Like I'm freaking leaking through my shirt. I'm not doing right by my baby. Like I feel this push and pull. And then when I have vulnerable conversations with other women that are doing the same balancing act, you all of a sudden realize this is just part of the process. Like, yeah, it's going to look messy for me to honor both my career and motherhood, but dang, one, it's going to change. It's not going to be this hard for the whole time, but it's super normal. It's going to look different, and that's okay. Motherhood and entrepreneurship is going to look different than it would if I were in a corporate setting. And I think just normalizing some of those struggles empowered me to push through and not just completely say, oh, well, I'm not meant to do this. I'm harming my family by honoring my career.
Yeah, I love that you've highlighted that, because there is this stigma against perhaps this isn't what I'm meant to be doing because it feels hard.
Yes.
And things are supposed to be easy if they're right. And there's that perception of maybe, and I want to get to this in a little bit, of perhaps I need to put myself on hold for now. And there's pieces of us as moms and as women that feel like they're dying a little bit on the inside when we have to choose one over the other because it's difficult. So I absolutely want to get to that in a little bit. And I wanted to shed a little bit of light on, so where your coaching business started in your motherhood journey. Was this something that you had prior to the birth of your first son, or did this evolve through the first couple of years or months perhaps of your first son's life?
Yeah. So my first son was about 2 years old. I held a position that was not entrepreneurship, but it definitely was flexible. I worked for two entrepreneurs that had multiple businesses. So I was kind of a catch-all Jane of all trades. And it was really through that work experience that made me realize, oh, I can build something around what I love and what I'm gifted in, but I have to relinquish all security nets and also really, really believe in myself. But I felt, again, like my son was 2 and I didn't want to play around anymore. I wanted to start and honor like my path. I felt like I was a supporting role to so many people's success. And I just felt like I was hiding in shadows. And I felt, okay, I have this little boy and I want to be a huge source of inspiration. I know that my biggest accomplishment is going to be his starting ground. So I want my accomplishments to be sky high so that he starts from an elevated position. And so I put him into daycare and I decided, okay, I'm going to have him in preschool at the time, preschool daycare for 3 days a week. And those 3 days, I'm going to work on my business. And then the rest of the time, like the rest of the 2 weeks, my husband, he's been a lender for a long, long time. And so for him, it was like not a question of working from home. He was just like, that wasn't it. It was on me, which a lot of moms also, we're the ones that typically face that dilemma of, do I put my career on hold? Do I stay home? All that math, right?
Yeah.
So I found that I wanted to be at home. I wanted to like go in full throes of motherhood and find some sort of balance. And I felt like working 3 days a week and then having 2 days of the week off, I could do that. I could go to the lake with my baby. I can like hang out with friends and still feel like I was fully there, present as a mom. In those 3 days when he was in preschool, oh my gosh, it was like I was dialed in. I got to feed my ambition and really just honor that call for myself. And afterwards, I felt like I could be a really thankful mom and a really appreciative partner. So yeah, he was 2 when I started the crazy journey.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds like there was a lot of awareness that came for you over the first 2 years of his life, though, that you are capable and strong enough and worthy of making that adjustment in your life and asking for what you needed to actually empower yourself to get these goals accomplished. And that becomes a really hard thing for a lot of women to grapple with, and vocalizing and empowering themselves and standing up for themselves. So in terms of early motherhood. So a lot of my vision for this is really talking about normalizing the challenges of just motherhood in general. And obviously, there's a whole other layer you add to it when it comes to adding your business and empowering yourself. But in terms of being a mom in those first couple of years of your son's life, what did that look like for you? Was that an easy transition for you into having somebody to take care of full time? I mean, I have yet to find a way to unpause the mom brain, right? And I've yet to figure that one out. What were some of your biggest challenges? Was there anything that surprised you pleasantly or rudely, really? Kind of smacked in the face about? I'm trying to find a comfort in knowing that a lot of what I'm experiencing and other women who are listening are experiencing are very common and very, perhaps not normal, but something that's common that you can get support through or things like that. So what did that early motherhood look like for you?
Yeah, I think that it may have been the people that I surround, the other women and the other moms that I surrounded myself with, but I didn't struggle as much with the guilt and felt like my child was in competition with my ambition. I felt like I was pursuing ambition and I was honoring the call on my life. Like it was in benefit of my son and my son's now. So the sacrifices that I made, the like putting him in daycare or taking time. I remember I want to say 4 months postpartum and I was nursing at the time, but I had a business trip to go to. Like I flew and left him for the weekend at 4 months. And I know that that first trip away from baby is really hard, but there wasn't guilt for me. I definitely have an incredible spouse and he will balance out once I get a little too maybe emotional or like if I fall in the depths of like feeling unnecessary guilt, he'll balance me out and bring me some perspective and say, hey, you're doing amazing. Like he's going to be fine. And I also know I can trust him. He's equal parts dad as I am mom. So I don't feel like I have to buffer him from parenthood. I can totally trust him that he's got it. But
Yeah.
I have to make the decision like, okay, so I'm going to pump the most that I can, and otherwise he'll have formula, and I have to be okay with that. But I think that there's just a million choices that moms make where you can choose to let guilt really eat away at you, or you can choose to not. I continually saw the women around me not letting that guilt be a factor of their decisions. And so it helped. And my husband too, I think that he really balanced that out.
I love that. I think the biggest piece I'm taking from this is the fact that you were surrounding yourself by, I imagine, other women, your husband, your support team that gave you the confidence in perhaps areas that were maybe a little shaky. And you had so much faith in the team around you that's given you or gave you the ability to pursue that ambition that you've had. So a lot of what you do now, right, through Gender Root Society is creating that community, giving those women that group to surround themselves with that perhaps they don't have elsewhere. So what advice do you have for moms who perhaps have not started that business yet or who haven't joined an online community? How do they find those women who are, or a partner, right? We don't necessarily know what everyone's situation looks like. How do they find those people to support themselves through that?
It seems very simple, but it has to start with you vulnerably acknowledging that that's what you want. Because let's say you still haven't quite made the commitment in yourself that you're like, you know what, I do want to pursue something. Like I want to not put myself on the back burner, but instead do this all together in motherhood. I think I can do it as long as you don't accept full commitment. Like if you continue to avoid that, then you'll buffer yourself. Like you'll keep yourself away from women that are doing that because it's intimidating to you, or you'll stop yourself from having vulnerable conversations with your partner about like, hey, I really want to do this. So it starts with you being vulnerable with yourself and admitting this is something that I want. And then that will attract the friends that also are doing the same thing. And the way that you share with them and even acknowledge like, out into the world that this is something that you want to pursue. But as long as you stay hidden, it's really hard to attract that support system, because you'll actually repel that support system, because that support system is like almost too intimidating for you. So just acknowledge it and let yourself go there. Let your mind imagine what it would be like to have a support system, to have other women, other moms that are bringing their kids along for their co-working dates, and allow yourself to even envision a life where you are doing both motherhood and running a business. And then the rest will, like, the people really will show up. But it starts with you.
I mean, it's really powerful what your mind can do. And I am definitely experiencing that as we pursue this project and we put the energy out there that this is something that's doable. When you put yourself out there, it is quite scary as well, especially if you've been surrounded by different expectations, whether that be however long you've been a mom, or it's what you experienced as a child, the expectation of your role as a woman, and the dueling narrative of having all these responsibilities at home and taking care of the kid and then pursuing that ambition, and how do you balance that? And I want to jump back a little bit to that piece where we talked a little bit about a few minutes ago of this, like, needing to perhaps put your goals on hold for the first couple of years. Like, one of the biggest challenges that I have found right now is my daughter's 15 months old. Daycares, unless you go full time, don't accept children until 18 months old. So it's a huge red flag for me to say, well, I'm not ready to put my child in full time. I could use some part-time to give myself the space to curate what it is I'm looking for, and then perhaps we can roll into full-time. So for me, there was very much of a narrative of, well, society is telling me, well, my kid's not supposed to go anywhere unless I'm a full-time working mom, making an income and doing whatever else is expected of me full-time. There is no role for part-time until my kid is a certain age. So there's that narrative. There's also something that still sits with me that someone mentioned to me was, the expectation that perhaps, like, this is just the time for you to put yourself on hold. This is the time to be with your kid full time. So there's kind of these reaffirming narratives in society that this is expected of women as moms who are blessed to have the capacity to be a stay-at-home mom and not have to go back full time. So there's no real in between. So what do you say to me, to a woman who's experiencing this, that doesn't have to be that way?
Yeah, it's all the more important that we share our desires and our ambitions and our stories, right? Because I really do think that moms are put into categories without really our consent. You're a stay-at-home mom, and then it's almost like we isolate. There are these walls that go up for us, and we don't even allow ourselves to connect with a stay-at-home mom because we feel like, I don't relate to you. I'm doing this thing and you're not going to understand me. But it's all really driven by this guilt that we have, that we're just not quite fitting the mold of society. Like, culture really is very outspoken about moms, yes, and what we should be doing and how we should be acting. And I think that quiets us because we don't want to offend. We don't want to make someone feel like they're not doing a good enough job, or we don't want to be scrutinized for how we're doing motherhood. So we stay really hidden and we stay really quiet. And because I think we're all insecure, like, are we doing what we're supposed to be doing? Am I meeting expectations? But I think the most important expectation to be is that of your own and of your own household, not of anybody else's. So I think sharing your story and sharing even this desire that you have, regardless of how it will be received, being outspoken about it. It's almost like going old school with sharing information. Like, we have to go word of mouth and not just rely on like how we see moms represent themselves on TikTok or social media, because we know we can't trust those stories or those images. Mm-hmm. We have to genuinely connect and say and share, be vulnerable with ourselves and say, hey, I want to do this thing. Like, I don't even know how to find childcare. Like, what do you think? And God forbid we actually even rely on each other and say, hey, could you watch my kids on Mondays? I'll watch your kids on Tuesdays. If on Mondays I'm working hard and making dreams come true, awesome. If you want to go spa and not make any, like make your relaxation dreams come true, that's okay too. But it's
Yeah.
being able to rely on each other and not be silent and not be so critical of ourselves and of how someone else is doing motherhood.
Yeah. So what would your recommendation be? So I'd love to kind of walk through this a bit. So like we're in this spot where we're ready to make our dreams known. We're envisioning this support system that we have, these like-minded moms who are ready to start this path to our own ambition, our own journeys. Are there any tactical things that you recommend to your clients or places to put ourselves out there? Is it, someone mentioned to me the other day that they go to their gym because it has daycare and they can sit around at the tables and, talk to people around them. Like from your experience, what has worked really well for you to find some of those like-minded community members?
Yeah. I think the reason that your friend goes to the gym is because she needs time and attention to actually from away from children. And I think that's the biggest barrier. I guess loving and honoring yourself enough and the desire that you have to create success and pursue success enough to have someone give you the headspace, like hire the babysitter, coordinate so that it's consistent, so that you even have the time in your week to devote to knocking off all the other logistical things. It comes down to childcare. And I know that seems really, I don't know, maybe it's hard, maybe it's a loaded thing,
Yeah.
but it really is simple. We put pressure on ourselves to have mental capacity to be present for our children, like to make sure that another human being is not dying.
Yeah.
And then also to tackle these complex tasks of creating a website, marketing our businesses, like all of these very intellectually tasking things.
Yeah.
So we set ourselves up for stress, anxiety, like being burnt out because we're not even giving ourselves the time to have attention to our task. So get childcare, whatever that looks like, even if it's an hour a day, get childcare and don't feel guilty about it.
Yeah. And I think your point earlier of even if it's just you find a mom that's in a similar life stage as you and saying Mondays, I'll take your kid, Tuesdays, can you take my kid? And there's this exchange of services for no monetary contribution in a sense, right? It's like takes that pressure off of things. I think there's a lot of women who are stay-at-home moms because it doesn't quite make sense financially to send their kid yet to daycare, or there's this expectation that you have to be making an income before you can spend the money to support yourself, not the first way, right? It's like, perhaps we should be looking at money as a tool to make more money, but there's a lot of narratives around that. I love that point of being able to just exchange services with somebody else who's like there, take that burden or that pressure, even if it's something you've put on yourself, and just take it off.
Girl, two things. Can we talk about how difficult it is for us to even ask for help? Like,
Yes.
let's overcome that. Let's overcome this. I don't know. It's martyrdom. Maybe it's ego. Maybe it's just like whatever it is. It
Yes.
stops us from just admitting like, I need help with my babies. Like, can I exchange this? Like, doesn't that kind of make your like chest tighten a little bit at the idea of asking a friend, someone for help? Women so often just think they should be doing it all. They don't want to burden people by asking for help. And I think the most dangerous part of that is it teaches other women in our friendships and networks that they shouldn't be asking for help either. So it creates this like independence where really we're all suffering, we're all struggling, and we need one another, right? Even if it's just like, bring me a coffee, I'm like barely hanging together. It's just hard for us to say, hey, I need help. I need this. So if I could just please, like moms, like women, ask for the help that you need. There's no shame. There's no weakness in that. It takes a ballsy woman to say, I need help, and receive that help. And then it will teach your friend, oh, it's okay. When I'm struggling, I can reach out to Corina because I know that like she understands. I can trust her with my vulnerability. That, and then expecting ourselves to be making money.
I know.
Like I did that. I 100% did. I was like, oh my God, I quit my job and I was like, babe, don't even worry. I'm going to be like, I had it all figured out. I put these crazy expectations on myself. I had these ridiculous revenue goals. And then of course, like it crashed and burned horrendously. But nobody taught me like, hey, you are allowed to invest in your business before your business even has a chance of creating any sort of profit. And guess what? You having childcare is an investment. That's not just like, oh, lucky for you. Like, oh my gosh, I should feel so lucky. Like, I don't deserve this. Like, no, that's an investment in your business. So consider it as an investment in your business, and don't put these unrealistic expectations that you should be turning a profit in your second month. No, baby girl, it's going to take a long time. It's going to take you at least a year, at least 2 years. So don't feel the shame of not supporting yourself financially, because that's an unrealistic expectation.
Yeah. As you're talking, I mean, it's ringing so true in just my personal experience of the first part of that conversation we just had of asking for help and the shame level that exists. And I know from personal experience, for me, it was there without even realizing it was there. Like, I have been doing personal work and awareness work before my daughter was born. And I did a lot of this, and we had other things that kind of took some of the mental focus of that and put it on other things. But I was doing the work beforehand, and I came into motherhood, honestly, completely unprepared, mentally, completely unprepared.
So is everyone, girl, like that.
Yeah. Most women, I think if you say you were fully prepared, I don't know where you got your preparation.
Yeah.
Hand it over. I'll take it. I would love the advice. But for me, it was a lot of shame around, holy crap, I am completely unprepared. I'm completely unprepared. I feel like I have all of these stories are not the right word. I'm watching the women around me do what they're doing it so gracefully. I didn't find that I had a lot of truth or vulnerability shared with me ahead of time. And then I had, over the first year, people coming to me, people that I love, family members, really close girlfriends, say, it's okay to not be okay. And I'm like, F you, I'm okay. Like, what do you mean? You think I'm struggling? What does that mean? Like, I'm fine. And it was this shame that I had deep rooted of not being okay, then not being able to ask for help. That was a huge weight. I definitely think that there was some level of the fourth trimester, hormones playing a piece of that, not being able to move past the cloud of, the fog, the storm. And I see it now kind of coming out of those, but it took me about a year to get to that point. And I don't think that's really shared either. But being able to just say, I think I'm okay right now, but I'm probably not okay right now because things feel really narrow, things feel really foggy, is a perfect step. And I think even just being able to share some of this is going to be huge, and allowing other women to recognize it. They don't even have to identify what they need help with to say, I need help. Because I think that's also the other factor, right? Is like, okay, maybe I need a coffee. That's my immediate need right now, but I know that's only going to solve this for the next 30 minutes to an hour, so I can power through until nap time or whatever that looks like. And I think there's that huge piece of just being okay with the unclear, but knowing that something needs to change is a big thing too.
Yeah. I hope this sticks out, because hopefully it speaks to someone. You said that not knowing what exactly is wrong, like, it felt like a huge weight. And I think because we are problem solvers, we want to be able to identify exactly what it is that is bothering us so we can find a fix for it. But when you're postpartum, it's very true. It's like you can't put your finger on it, and it makes it easier to dismiss it, because then if there's no cause, I can't find a solution. So I'm just going to be in this constant state and almost accept that this is maybe what motherhood is, which is not true. I think that is so, so valuable and important. I do remember this was in the middle of quarantine. Our community felt, there was one particular member that she's a photographer, and she did a shoot particularly around postpartum. And she took images of women in postpartum to highlight and to really kind of pull back, to reveal what postpartum depression actually looks like. It created this really raw and relevant conversation and awareness in our group that I feel like, because we're all like-minded women and we've decided we're going to do life and business together, that means we're going to see each other through a bunch of different seasons. And we meet every single week. So sometimes your need is going to be marketing solution. But another time it's going to be you're depressed and you're so depressed that no one else feels safe for you to admit that to other than this group of random women that you're meeting with online. But that has been like, we've seen each other through really hard times and have created a sense of trust and vulnerability to where we can. It's beautiful because we don't always know what is wrong. But once you admit, like, I'm not doing okay. We just had this happen recently where it was like, one of our members was just like, I'm not doing okay. As a founder of this community, I cannot tell you how I was like so deeply thankful. And it made me think back to all the times that I wanted to quit, all the times that I wanted to like shut it all down. It made me so thankful that she felt trusting enough and vulnerable enough, because then there were other members that prayed for her, offered her solutions, gave her perspective, held her accountable to doing something after our call. And I think that us isolating ourselves as moms, that's what keeps us in this like fog. That's what keeps us away from finding tangible, real, simple solutions even, or help, because we feel like no one's going to understand. But again, it's normalizing it and finding that so many of us understand exactly what you mean.
Yeah. Wow. I have goosebumps listening to you share that story, because I look for that. I strive for that, having that community. And for me, it was something that I came to the realization of alone, basically, right? Let me rephrase that. Not alone. I have a wonderful support team around me, but the realization came alone in the work that I'm doing. And it's beautiful to see that there are opportunities for women to find other women, to hold ourselves through this, to give ourselves compassion when we can't give it to ourselves, to give ourselves love when we haven't found a way to give it to ourselves. So that's really beautiful. And I am appreciative of you sharing that.
The communities are there. We just got to be brave enough and take a risk of getting rejected, but put yourself out there. Find the people, find women that will just uniquely understand you. It is a huge game changer. Doing life alone is just like unnecessarily hard.
Yeah, I feel that immensely. And I want to touch a little bit on kind of how you refill your cup. So I imagine being a part of this community is one of the most invigorating experiences for you, having watched this grown and being a part of these conversations and dialogue with these women. But I imagine it's also quite taxing, right? When this is what you're doing and you're holding space for them and you're supporting them. And then you, on the flip side, go home and your husband's there and your sons are there, and there's an additional expectation of need from you. So how do you recharge? How do you refill your energy cup these days?
Yeah, such a good question. So I'm a firm believer of having like a unique gift or gifts that are just for you. It's like they're intricately related to how you tick, just the way that God like created you. They're very embedded in you. And my particular gift is to pour into and like dissect. When women share with me, my brain like goes a million miles a minute, and I understand. It's like through this dialogue of exchange. Coaching, basically, speaking life, speaking truth. So I find that once you are able to identify what your gift is, using it is actually beneficial to people around you, but also filling for you. So it's like this equal exchange. Yes, there are 100%. There's parts of my business that do drain me. They're showing up consistently. Even when I don't feel like it, that does drain me. But there's the very essence of what I do and the purpose that I fulfill in this community and for my coaching clients. That thing, it's a battery fill for me. So I notice that when I don't coach, I have leaders that are called ambassadors, and they coach. So it's not just me every single week that leads our discussions. There are these 4 incredible women who are gifted in separate ways. They take charge and lead these unique sessions as well. So I get to sit back and I get to learn from them, which I love. But I know that if I'm going to have a coaching session, it literally like gives me a refresh on who I am and the role that I'm playing in this world. So that's one thing. If I go for too long without having a coaching session, I tend to like almost dole out. It's like the life has been looked at. It's weird. But then on a personal level, I absolutely love if I get to meet someone in person, like having that physical interaction and just like meeting for a coffee or a cocktail on a rooftop, getting dressed up. Like those are things that make me feel creative and alive and where we live is absolutely gorgeous. So if I'm anywhere near the water, it just like gives me life. It makes me appreciate so much. Just staring at the ocean makes me utterly grateful. I'm a huge reader, so I'll read, I'll pull away from social media. Social media is not somewhere where I love to hang out. It's fun, but I have really strong boundaries around it. It does not get to consume a bunch of my time. I love to read, I love to golf with my husband and just play. I find that we don't play very often. Like, I roller skate. Sometimes that means that I play really terrible soccer with my kids on the beach. Sometimes that means that we're just out and being a family and not having like to curate the experience and just like be.
Being.
So
Yeah.
those are things that give me like perspective and just help me to experience life and feel like, okay, I can pour out now. I have something to give.
Yes. I find that very refreshing in terms of, again, these narratives of what self-care looks like these days, of like, you have to add all these things to your plate. And I was having this conversation with another woman that I was interviewing, and there's this expectation that you have to add these things. And as moms and as business owners, we don't actually have a whole lot of time to add more things. So finding joy and finding what truly refills you from your day to day is going to be so vital and so important. So it's so refreshing to hear that there is the hope and opportunity to find something that supports us in our ambition, that supports us financially, that also just makes us happy and gives us joy.
Yes.
And it's very possible to do if you open yourself up to the opportunity and the realm that that can exist. And it's interesting because you're saying some of these things where, you know, having a conversation with somebody, meeting somebody, and those are draining activities for me. I don't recharge that way. I'm starting to find that these interviews are actually quite fulfilling for me, and feeling this level of community and camaraderie and this sense of hope that this can exist, and all of these aspects that I hope for and strive for can be checked off. So it's very refreshing to hear that your experience is possible and very much works for you. And it doesn't have to look the same. You don't have to be by yourself to recharge. You don't have to be just walking quietly with the feet in the sand and those sort of things. It can look however it needs to look for each individual.
It's not always going to be a face mask and like a Netflix binge. Okay. It's going to look differently.
Yeah.
I personally hate personality tests, just like full transparency, because it gives us these boxes that we then are comfortable in. And we say, oh, I'm a 9 wing, whatever. And so one, I get to explain away my like shitty behavior, but then it also just like gets us into thinking like, no, I should be this way. It's normal for me to have these tendencies or habits, but it's like, how do you know? Go out and allow yourself to experience different ways instead of being so stuck in what's comfortable and what we've always known to where it just kind of leaves little to the imagination moving forward. The other thing that I wanted to say is this is a good sign that you're in alignment with what you're meant to be doing for you. If this is something fulfilling, like I believe operating in alignment is huge. Like, what's the point of creating success in a way that is arduous, that drains you, that is harmful to who you are, who God created you to be? Like, you should feel a sense of flow and a sense of fulfillment, creating the impact that you're called to create.
How do you recommend somebody start to do that? I think for me, this has been a many year long journey, right? Many years. I mean, I was in a completely different career maybe 5 years ago at this point. And it's been a handful of years of coming to that awareness, trying different things, going through different experiences. So how do you recommend that somebody finds that alignment? Like, should they just like throw some darts at the wall and like try something different? Like, how do we start?
I love this question, I think, because coaching women into alignment is something that I love to do. But I want to throw it back to you and ask you, what was the catalyst for you to start the Mom Project?
Becoming a mom, honestly, like I felt that something was missing, that there was a lot of isolation in this journey. And for me, it wasn't until I heard a story of another mom that made me feel supported, that this was doable, that these feelings were okay, that they were normal, and it resonated with me. So yeah, I mean, it took me years to get to this point. So maybe the lesson is it just takes time and trust that you will find
No,
the path.
that's bullshit. No, I'm going to say that it's something I mean, yes, I think that it needed to happen as you became a mom. Obviously,
Yeah.
this is unique, but there's a passion inside of you. There was something that kept like being embedded in you. Like you kept thinking about how these issues that needed to get out. Like, because to another woman, it would have been like, oh yeah, I get, like, I see that. And I see that there's a need, but there's not this personal, almost like attachment that she makes with it. For you, there's this personal attachment. There's this like passion that starts to cultivate inside of you, inside of your spirit. And then you are faced with a decision. And this is where alignment comes in. Do I follow this passion, or do I just stifle it down and ignore it and excuse it away? You had the balls to pursue the passion. So herein is like, now you're in alignment. You at least have a starting point, and you're going to be faced with 1,000,001 decisions to continue to honor this passion or to honor fear, honor insecurity, honor doubt. We're constantly tempted to deviate away and to neglect the alignment that we're called to. But every time you make a decision that is like honoring to that passion and out of faith, like faith for yourself, faith for what you're doing, faith in your creator, you maintain that alignment. It starts with having something that you're like, okay, my spirit is saying something. How often have we gone through life where it's like, my spirit will say something, but I'm like, no, that will never, I could never do that. And we stifle it down, and we make decisions based on circumstance. We make rational decisions. We make decisions that are like, oh, this makes so much sense for her. Certainly it's going to make sense for me too, but they're completely out of alignment with our own spirit.
It's funny listening to that passion that you have and reflecting on the last year or so of my journey to get to this point. So before my daughter was even born, you're right. There are these sparks that kind of ignite, and then you like tamper it down a bit, and you're like, rationally, that doesn't make any sense. Like, where did that even come from? Right? Like, where did that thought even cross my mind? How did that even like get like embedded in there? And there's more and more of those. And it's funny because my journey, I've always enjoyed writing. There's always been, I took some creative writing classes in college, but I never saw it as a path to anything, a path to, honestly, financial success. It was
right, because that's what it always comes down to. It was like, will this make me money? Nope. Okay, then I'm going to be an accountant.
Right. Exactly. So, and I went into sales. So like, I mean, there's, I guess, some level of storytelling in that, but yeah, there's always that desire or fun piece that I really enjoyed the creative writing process and being able to tell a story and craft a story. And, we just tamper that down. Who the heck needs that? Over the last year or so, I was like, oh, maybe I could do, some writing or creative writing or website content or whatever. And I started, and I was getting closer, but I wasn't quite there. And I basically was in a journal session, and the power of words just comes to me. It like flashes across. And it was actually the journey of this project showing itself. Originally, this was going to be a blog style project. And I had my first conversation with somebody, and I was like, this won't do it justice. This isn't the right path. We're so close. And it lent itself to just doing this via podcast style because of the realness and the vulnerability and the empathy that comes across when you hear it coming out of somebody's own mouth. It's really beautiful to watch and listen to your connection of all of that, because that's exactly what women need, to be reminded that there's this spark in them already. It's already there. We just need to find it, align with it, and everything will open up. Opportunities are endless. That's really beautiful, the way that you describe that.
I mean, if I could just convey one message to women in general, whether you're a mom or not.
Yeah.
Women are like my jam. I love my husband. Men are amazing, but women are my jam. If we can disconnect from all of the messages that everybody wants to scream at us and is screaming at us daily, we don't even realize how much we're being like told what to do by opening up TikTok. If we can just disconnect from that and listen to our spirit, listen to our hearts, and find solutions and, dare I say, take risks on what our spirit says to do, we would be so insanely powerful and fulfilled and impactful and like have such meaningful lives. Like, you truly will be abundantly successful if you stop reacting to the noise around you and start taking action based on what, because I believe your spirit is connected to God. Like, the creator of the universe is literally embedded in your spirit. That's never going to steer you wrong. Is it going to get scary as hell? Absolutely. Like, God's going to ask you to do things that are contrary to your comfort zone so that you can grow, so that you can overcome the limitations that you've just been comfortable living by all of these years. It's for your own benefit. It's not for the benefit of your ego or your comfort zone or, the people around you even. It's going to be uncomfortable, but how often are we told, don't pursue creative, like writing, or I don't know. My parents are immigrants. So for me, the biggest success I could be was like working for a corporation, having a 9 to 5 and having weekends off. Like, they came here for security. So the fact that I'm a coach and I like talk to people, my parents are sort of like, what? Like, you charge people what to do what? They don't get it. And I understand it's risky. It might seem superfluous to a lot of people. I understand that, but I could care less. It's honoring what my like spirit is telling me to do. And that gives you a sense of confidence and independence. You don't need to rely on social media to give you the kudos that's necessary to take your next leap. You have that. You start to build this internal confidence in yourself that allows you to take bold steps and be okay with the fallout.
Yeah. It's definitely a journey.
Yeah.
And to get to this point, let's wrap it up there. I think that's a beautiful note to end it on. I want to just give you a chance to highlight how our listeners can find you. So what's the best way for them to locate Ginger Root Society?
Yes, just go to gingersociety.com. Go to our website. You can find out more about us there. We are on social media. We're at Ginger Root Society on Instagram. You can find me personally, Corina Tripon, on Instagram. You can also find us on TikTok. Ginger Root Society is on TikTok. We get a little spicy. We do love tequila and Jesus. So if that offends you, I apologize, but I don't apologize. That's where you can find us.
Awesome. Well, let's wrap it up. I feel like we can chat forever and we may have to do this again. So thank you so much for sharing your story and your guidance with us and being vulnerable. It really means a lot to me and I'm sure to other women listening as well. So you're welcome anytime.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure. It's been awesome.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please help us out and leave a review wherever you listen and consider sharing with your friends. If you're interested in learning a bit more about the project or want to share your story, please visit our website linked in our show notes below.